Hi, I'm Kirsten, and for Project 4, I made a JavaScript element in which we can toggle between English and Danish on the website. First, for debugging, we use console and alert statements to help identify if my code was actually running or not in the inspection tool on my website, to ensure if I had any errors or other things that needed help editing to make my code run smoother. For variables and types, first with variables, I have language content. This variable is an object that has content, English and in Danish. This is the content of the website that's also being translated. Current lang and new lang is declared within toggle function and stores and loads content based on the data lang. For types, strings are used as a majority, as this is a content translation, so it would make most sense that it's translating text instead of numbers. For operators, an equal sign is used for English. It's used to assign a value to English. A triple equal sign is for strict comparison, to ensure that my code knows exactly where to go on the conditions. I have a question mark. It's a conditional expression because I only have two conditions, English and Danish. I have a punctum because this is used to access certain properties of my objects, for example in document.getElement by ID. And I also have square brackets, which allows my code to access properties within a variable. For arrays, I didn't see the need for the array at the moment because I was only translating one side of a website, but if I had to in the future, it would mostly be used for a very text-heavy website, and if I had to translate the whole website. But I added it to fit in my pensum, but it did not really have an impact in my code in any sort of way, but it can be useful if I'm translating over several different languages and not just English and Danish. For if-else, I did not explicitly state that an if-else in my code. However, the ternary operator used to toggle between English and Danish act on the same condition as an if-else. For example, if this is the new language, then it needs to be the current language, which is then either English or Danish. And that's determined with what I pressed on the buttons. For loops are in the form of for in. This is used to perform over the properties of the object. Loops over the keys, which are the IDs I given for each content line in my website of the language content, and lang is a parameter used to pass to the function. Each key is accessed to a corresponding value from my language content from my IDs that I assign them and updates the inner HTML. For objects, language content is an object that contains language content translations for two languages, Danish and English. Each is represented as a property and stores as key value pairs within it. For example, nav title 2, what we do. For DOM, I have a code that interacts with HTML elements from my JavaScript file to access and modify the properties. It also receives my key IDs given to my content, and it also takes my inner HTML and sets it in my dataset to update the toggle functionality. For functions, I have switch lang. This is responsible for switching the language of my content. It also specifies the language, which language I need to switch to. For toggle language, Danish is a parameter that refers specifically to Danish, and it determines the data based on the data lang. So my data lang would be English, then it would recognize that and toggle between Danish and English depending on what the button's already on. For variable scope, I have let, current lang, new lang, key, toggle language, and switch lang, which have a local scope as they're only accessible within their respective functions. However, my language content, my translations for English and Danish, is declared outside of any function in my code, making it global and accessible from anywhere in the text in my code. Lastly, for event, I have an event when you press the toggle function when it's being used. So this triggers an execution of the translating of the content, and it triggers it to change to anything but the language that it's already in, which I only have two conditions, either English or Danish. Thank you.